As if they don't have too much on their plates. The Kings of Combat Sports Podcast, John and Wade. They talk about the things they did that day. They'll analyze the work of Triple H. Rewind to SmackDown. 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 Rewind to SmackDown.
And now we go into SmackDown from the Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. 12,209 tickets out from WrestleTix, and we have Michael Cole opening the show at the Okerland position and brings out Pat McAfee, who puts over Indianapolis, calls the fans the greatest on earth, and throws to Joe Tessitore in the ring. So we got the Saturday night's main event set up for tonight's show, basically.
Yeah, I found it interesting. I mean, they're not usually here on SmackDown, but obviously with everybody in town, they decided to add an extra element to the show, not to mention the first hour being commercial-free. So just throwing in all the gimmicks, maybe just because, you know, it's Royal Rumble weekend. I certainly thought it was effective. I mean, so many of my complaints last week were that this edition of SmackDown just did not feel big, did not feel important enough. And I think simply having like a new type of intro with the Pat McAfee attached to it already made a big difference.
I thought so too. I think that this should be the format for when you have the pay-per-view weekends and you're in the city on the Friday. This is what they should do. Like, load up the show and give it that last big push for the show the next day, because I thought this had a much bigger feel to it overall. Joe Tessitore is in the ring, and he brings out Kevin Owens, who feels he has been misrepresented, and Owens accuses Joe of being Cody Rhodes' fanboy, and he does not accept Tessitore's apology for their coverage being lacking of Kevin Owens. Owens takes down his Winged Eagle belt that had been hung last Saturday and has just been going from arena to arena being hung. And he says he will take the other title tomorrow. But before Owens can leave, out walks CM Punk. And he comes out, enters the ring with Kevin Owens, and the crowd is chanting for them. Punk apologizes for interrupting him, and that Kevin Owens made some great points about having to listen to him and Seth argue about who's going to headline him and Cody about who meeting at WrestleMania and overlooking Kevin Owens to win this ladder match. He says that maybe you and I could headline WrestleMania, and says that if you win the title, then I'm coming for you. Owens notes there are 29 other guys I like more than you that are in the Royal Rumble, which is kind of hard because it's a very incomplete list at this point. But I guess
he said, I don't even know everybody who's in the Rumble, but I know I probably like them more than you.
Okay, what if I'm sure there's people in that could show up in that Rumble that he
who in the world I guess would like a Jim Cornette showing up?
If the Mountie was a surprise entrant, I think he might take the cake.
Yes.
So he says that he knows that it's Punk's dream to headline WrestleMania. This whole Punk headlining WrestleMania thing, it's becoming a very tired line, and Punk is kind of like rolling with it at this point and noting it, and says that the idea of you having this within your fingertips and not being able to headline WrestleMania, and then being old, broken, and alone, and going to your grave a miserable failure, makes me very happy. And I hope you don't win the Rumble. So Punk then says, well, I'm sorry that I've set goals that are scary to some people. But you know what I've never done, Kevin? I've never lost 5 title matches at the Royal Rumble, which you have. I've also never lost to Logan Paul. And I've never manipulated my best friend to have him help me try to win the title. Because, Kevin, you always take shortcuts, and challenges him to a fight. But Kevin backs down and leaves with his Winged Eagle Championship.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, if starting the show with a Pat McAfee and a Michael Cole is already something that'll elevate the status of the show, having CM Punk pretty much kind of clinches the fact that this is not your regular edition of SmackDown. This is one where you're going to bring the A-listers, and Punk definitely gives us a big show feel. Promo-wise, I thought these two had great chemistry, as I think you would expect from two of the best natural speakers on the mic. I think it's nearly impossible for anything that these two say to feel like a scripted promo. They are continuing to build Punk's story about never main eventing Mania, and it's I'm finding it like, yes, a little bit tired, but I'm also finding it just very effective. We now know his version of the story. It's not necessarily winning a championship. It might be winning a championship, but he wants to win a championship so that he could main event WrestleMania. And I almost think it's so good that I don't know if I want to see him achieve it this year. Because it almost provides, I think, maybe more of an interesting goal for him to prolong the rest of his journey in the WWE. So we'll see. But they're putting also a lot of attention into.
He is 46, by the way.
Okay, but he said in that interview with Jackie that he doesn't see himself slowing down. Now with injuries, maybe you try to
might not be his choice.
Yeah, you might just do it while you can, right? So we'll see. But it's just I'm finding it to be a very effective goal for a CM Punk at the moment. I think this scene here, like they did with Cody and Punk on Monday, they are using the value of the Rumble season to tease their big matches, not only to enhance the possibilities coming out of the Royal Rumble, but to lay the foundation for main events that we may see through the rest of the year. So they're essentially using the Rumble to give us teasers for what we might be able to expect for the rest of 2025. And I think it's been incredibly effective, not just for the Rumble, but
everyone should keep tabs on all these little promo segments that we've seen over the last 4 weeks and see where, if they, what percentage of them actually materialize. Because rather than people thinking these are just red herrings, maybe you could do Punk and Kevin Owens in 6 months, and you've laid the seeds for something here. You haven't set anything up. You haven't left anything dangling. You've just planted a seed that can be utilized down the road. Same with Gunther and Seth Rollins, all these different things that you have put there.
It's very effective, and it provides, I think, extra value for Royal Rumble season, or just the concept of what the Royal Rumble is beyond just promoting everything for one night. You can use the concept to promote your matches for the entire year.
And then there's a women's match as well. Maybe we can get to that one next year.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's start building for the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble.
That would be an improvement, yes.
The women take over Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yeah.
That's
next year. Okay, yes. That's going to be a lot of new outfits.
All this is with The Miz, who complains about Andrade not taking his advice, and wouldn't you know it, Andrade's standing right there behind him, and this leads to a match being made for later in the show. We get the Jimmy Uso walk and talk, where Shinsuke Nakamura is lingering in the background watching Jimmy Uso. And Carmelo cuts a promo on his way to the ring saying Jimmy Uso's not the one, he's the two. Damn. And then points out Tyrese Halliburton of the Indiana Pacers, who, did you notice Tyrese Halliburton was on the show?
I think I noticed him. Yeah, once or twice.
They sure did not make you forget about Tyrese Halliburton. Jimmy Uso and Carmelo Hayes. We had Hayes just going all on offense from the get-go, including a pop-up into a DDT and then a tope con hero. And then he walks up to Halliburton and he turns around and hit with a suicide dive. And then Jimmy is fighting back here. He also did this move where he hip-tossed Carmelo off the middle turnbuckle and turned it into a superplex in midair, but then gets caught with the first 48. Jimmy lands the super kick, Uso splash lands on the knees, and then Hayes tries to go for a roll-up, grabbing the ropes, but Jimmy reverses it, and he grabs the tights of Carmelo, catching him in 8 minutes and 31 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Decent match. I thought, actually, Carmelo outshined Jimmy here. I think they're making Carmelo lose so much that I wonder if he's going to eventually get an LA Knight / Daniel Bryan type of reaction where the crowd will start cheering for him because they think he's a lot better than the push he's actually being given. He's starting to become that guy. He's losing so much, you almost kind of feel bad for him despite him being a heel. So I don't think that's what they're trying to do, but I just wonder if there's a greater plan at work here for Carmelo because he just happens to be that guy in that who's essentially just kind of putting everybody new over.
We had the annual Royal Rumble numbers video, and then we go backstage. Byron Saxton speaks to Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Chelsea's got a banged up nose from last week's tag match and the beatdown, and she's going to retain the belt, and then she's going to win the Royal Rumble tomorrow. Don't think that's happening, but let us see. Chelsea Green and Michin for the Women's Championship. And boy, we've seen a lot of performers try to get the advantage, but Joe Tessitore explains Michin is wearing a green outfit tonight to get into the mind of Chelsea.
Yeah.
Boy, did that work.
Mind games. Yeah.
Oh, no. That color is my last name. I can't concentrate.
I imagine Joe Tessitore, like, actually it might have these encounters with these wrestlers in catering beforehand. Like, hey, I'm about to call your match. Like, you have any notes? Well, I don't know. I'm wearing green. Like, I mean,
Last maybe name just say is I'm green. That's mind games.
Yeah, some of these things I just I don't think they're even worth mentioning. On the broadcast.
Man, what if I was drinking like a Ting right now? Would you be able to? Would you be frozen games. For the rest of the show? Would you be able to recover?
I would lose. Yeah.
Michin lands a series of kicks, does the long back attack to set up the cannonball, and then Green busts out a ghetto clutch here, and then there's a kick out, eat the feet connects, but Niven pulls Green to the floor, so B-Fab attacks Niven, and then Green tries to escape, runs to the timekeeper's area, and grabs a kendo stick. These things are just, they're like chairs, just hanging around everywhere. Nails Michin, the DQ is called, but then Michin procures the kendo stick and attacks Green. So yes, we will get Green Michin part 4, 5, wherever we're going.
I really don't get it, dude. It's like
it's the US title and they're gonna have a match in every state.
Okay. Carmelo and Andrade, I do somewhat understand because the matches are great. I don't think these matches are that good, dude. Okay, like especially anytime they've had like just a straight up wrestling match, I don't find the work very interesting. Garbage match was one thing because I thought provided like a satisfying stunt, but I wasn't impressed with this match. Mainly I thought Michin's offense looked pretty weak compared to the current standard, and it kind of makes her hardcore like kendo stick swing gimmick feel a bit harder to buy into. I think Chelsea's selling is still like very comically exaggerated, and it's fine for comedy matches, but when we're talking about these title matches now, I kind of prefer something that's a bit more serious when they're trying to promote this as a serious championship. So I haven't really been into the matches. I certainly have been less interested each time they booked it, which is like, I don't know, feels like we're getting to our 5th match or something.
Saxton spoke with Naomi and Belair, asking what happens if it comes down to the two of you in the Royal Rumble. They support each other no matter what, and if one of them doesn't win, the other will, and they're coming for Liv and Raquel Rodriguez. They better be ready. There's a vignette for Charlotte Flair, who says, I've been called selfish and greedy, and I agree. I've worked my ass off to return. It's lonely at the top, and I've been on top for 10 years, and the last year won't define me. So she's flying in this jet.
Yeah.
Did they knock off Stephanie's places and these return vignettes all in one shooting day?
They could have just rented the plane and then shot them all at once. Yeah, I've enjoyed these Charlotte vignettes. I mean, I think they're very well produced. I think her confidence sounds very good in these.
She looks in ridiculous shape.
Yeah, she does. Yeah,
all these training videos she's been putting out. So I mean, she's probably the favorite to win it tomorrow. I mean, might feel like too obvious the choice, but I mean, she kind of feels like if you're bringing her back, that she could win it.
I imagine she'll be final 2 at the very least, and who the other person is, probably another surprise, because I don't know if I'd see. Well, I guess a lot of people are suggesting EO. That's a possibility as well. We'll see. I'm curious to see if Charlotte debuts with anything new, like maybe any adjustments to the entrance or the music or her wrestling. I'm curious.
Damian Priest came out. He started on Raw 4 years ago. He wanted to be known and make an impact. I went from a follower to a leader and a nobody to a world champion. But that was Raw. Now I'm on SmackDown, and his goal is championships. And that starts tomorrow at the Royal Rumble. So then he is welcomed to SmackDown by Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. And Tama Tonga's got quite the gig.
Show up, do his laugh.
That's it. That's all he does. Fatu.
Well, that's more than what his brother's doing.
Well, he's hurt.
Yeah.
Fatu knows who Priest is and what he's done. Both of us come from the street. But Priest, you can get your hair braided all you want, but don't get it twisted when you come around me. I'm off the leash, and I'm all gas and no brakes. You're not going to make a name off of us. So either lay down or we'll beat your ass down. And then the best catchphrase in all of pro wrestling to end his promo, Fatu.
It's nice, huh?
This is awesome.
I guess it's sort of like but
Fatu. Like, it's just, I'm going to yell my name at you.
This guy could really say anything. And I think he could say Tiffy time. And I think he'd make Tiffy time sound cool.
Well, Priest is not intimidated and says, you should know better. And boom, he just super kicks Tama, who's dead. He's out of it. But then they lead up to a big fight with Priest and Fatu, and then Tama gets involved again. It's 2-on-1. LA Knight runs out, and LA Knight goes to swing this chair, and Jacob Fatu just winds up and punches this chair with all the force in the world. I thought this dude's hand was broken. And Knight challenges him to the tag match, and that would be the main event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So last week was Priest's debut on SmackDown, where he came in during a backstage segment and then had a match. It was fine, but I didn't think it necessarily made him feel like that big of a deal, especially when it was just sort of tucked in the middle of the show. This was a show where they actually featured him and made him feel like an A-lister coming over from Raw. Gave him a promo just to kind of like state his reasons for moving here, or at least his goal, you know, in starting fresh on SmackDown. And they paired him with the hottest prospect, I guess, or fastest rising star on the show in a Jacob Fatu. And immediately, I think having him paired with Fatu makes it feel like a worthwhile reason for Priest to move over here. It's incredibly fresh for the both of them. I like them basing their feud off of like the both of them being from the streets, you know, whatever that means. Like I can get into it. And Jacob Fatu, this I think was among the most we've heard him actually speak, especially like in arena and not just a walk and talk backstage. And he sounded awesome. The more they let this guy do, the more he continues to impress me, because nothing he's done has disappointed me so far, whether it be like these, you know, initially the run-ins, but then like the wrestling, and then like some of the barking in the background, and then some of the longer promos to now pretty much a full-on talking segment. So yet to see what this guy's limit is.
Yeah, I mean, he's really shining on all fronts at the moment. Legado del Fantasma and the Motor City Machine Guns are backstage in advance of the 8-man tag, with Santos stating the Machine Guns already have their tag title opportunity tomorrow. So Santos has to win the Rumble. Don't know about that one. And Los Garza have to just worry about themselves. And Los Garza warned them, if you guys win the tag belts, we're coming for you. Highlights of Paul Levesque being announced for the Hall of Fame. And then the 8-man tag with a ad for Love Hurts, which we got to hear the sound of the trailer at the beginning of this match. Did you catch this?
It's because we're on Netflix, and they try to block the ads as much as they can, but this, I guess, they just couldn't silence for some reason.
Well, that's sounds like a movie I'm not going to see.
Yeah.
So the Machine Guns do their double team maneuver, which the commentary, they never give a name to, like the Moodalock sit out drop kick double team. So Joe Tessitore took the initiative and called it, here's the facial.
The facial. Oh,
so
no.
We've got a name for the Machine Guns. Here's the facial.
I mean, I guess it could be them telling him in catering, hey, like, we want to call that the facial. We're going to give our opponents a facial.
Are you sure? This is cable.
This poor man has to also call the long back attack every single week. So,
well, that comes with the gig. This turned into a pretty decent match, especially with Los Garza getting, their 2 minutes of wrestling this month. There was a sit-out powerbomb by Berto onto Gargano, but then Sabin makes the tag to Berto, and they start arguing. So Berto and Garza, they just take off. They leave. So the Machine Guns are left alone. Ciampa misses Sabin and accidentally boots Elton Prince off the apron. So Kit Wilson is pissed off. He won't tag in. So Sabin capitalizes, covering Ciampa in 12 minutes and 8 seconds, going into the 2 out of 3 falls match on Saturday, and all the tag teams hate each other.
They do, yeah. So obviously setting up tomorrow's match, but I think maybe more so building towards the 2 programs coming off of this with the Machine Guns and Legado and DIY and Pretty Deadly.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
This is the 1,000th broadcast of WWE in Indianapolis, going back to June of 1987, and they note the 20th SmackDown. Also the site of the debut of The Shield in 2012. So we got some city facts here on the screen. Fatu and Tama are backstage, and they just see the tag title belts laying around. And DIY quickly come and take them. They have a bit of a stare down with Fatu and Tonga, and then they walk over and start yelling at Pretty Deadly over the ending. Gargano says tomorrow's the biggest match of their lives, and if we lose these tag belts, you won't get a title shot. And Pretty Deadly tells them, tough, you're on your own tomorrow night.
Yeah, so it already kind of feels like pretty Deadly are baby faces, and I don't necessarily think they'll like be equals as challengers to DIY, but it at least puts them on that side. The seeing, I guess, Tama and I guess Jacob, might be next in line, which is an interesting one given that
we need a chart of all these teases.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them to keep track of.
So DIY are sort of like the more cowardly heels, whereas Tama and Jacob are certainly the more serious heels. So if they are the follow-up challengers, we'll see where that takes us. I am expecting DIY to retain.
Yeah, I don't want Jacob Fatu getting into this tag vortex.
It could be Tongaloa coming back.
Well, he's hurting, so I don't know. Whenever he can come back, sure.
Could be their other brother.
You're right. There's always that option. Cole and McAfee then bring out Tyrese Halliburton. He's got a game tomorrow at 5:00. He's going to try and make it to the Rumble after. Cool. And then we saw footage of Michael Cole and Cody crowd surfing.
I do want to. So on our Café portion, we noted that the T-Mobile to Allegiant Stadium is 7 miles away, according to a chat. It's actually not. It's actually 1.3 miles.
Oh, so how do we have this discrepancy? That's a lot of miles.
Yeah, I don't know, but I should have fact checked it myself. So it's doable.
Okay,
half an hour walk. It looks like.
We had a music video for Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, and that takes us to Naomi against Liv Morgan with Bianca Belair and Raquel Rodriguez in the corners. Naomi does her leg drop into the splits, and then Raquel constantly is getting involved, allowing Liv to get the advantage. She hits the Three Amigos, and then Naomi fights back. Liv hits the MX off the turnbuckle for a 2 count. Naomi hits the rear view, and as she goes for the split-legged moonsault, there is Raquel on the apron. So this time, Bianca yanks Raquel down. Naomi misses the split-legged moonsault, and there's a sunset flip by Liv, but Naomi reverses, pinning Liv, and then Raquel jumps them. Liv joins in, and it leads to both Naomi and Belair being laid out, stacked on top of each other, and then Raquel powerbombs Liv on top of both women.
Yeah, that's their move.
Seems like I'd rather be Liv than Raquel in that maneuver. It didn't look too fun. Just get powerbombed on top of 2 people.
You'd rather be the person getting powerbombed?
No, I'd rather be the person delivering the powerbomb.
You'd rather be Raquel then?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't think this match was all that great at all. I just did not think this was anything.
I thought the crowd was starting to feel a bit tired for it. Again, maybe the wear and tear of the 3 hours.
They saw Tyrese Halliburton. It's only downhill from there.
The interference, I didn't think was all that inspired, but I mean, they did get a reaction by the end, and like the star power was, I think, what carried them. Naomi has been getting way more focus as of late, way more ring time as of late, so it tells me that they're not only building her up for this tag run, but I'm presuming a big role afterwards, possibly for a WrestleMania program, possibly a heel turn.
I think Naomi and Bianca are going to go very late in this Rumble, like right down till like the final few.
And one may cost the other, as
you could totally do that. Yeah, I think that both are in that upper tier of this field. And then the Grant complaint dropped, and I needed Wai to cover the 3rd hour of SmackDown. So Wai, take us through the 3rd and final hour of SmackDown.
We had The Miz taking on Andrade here, and honestly, I didn't really have that much to speak of until we saw a big Spanish fly from Andrade, which got a 2 count, got a great reaction. This is awesome chant. Andrade then caught his spinning back elbow to win. This was a pretty lengthy match at about 2 segments, and two
segments. This one,
2 or 3 segments, 1 or 2 commercial breaks here. Again, I thought the wear of the 3rd hour was starting to feel I was starting to feel it for this crowd, but the crowd got into it by the end. Good showcase for Andrade, and I think like the Miz being here kind of shows his value for like giving something for an Andrade to do, for instance, because without somebody who can be a sort of a cocky heel who can cut promos or like do backstage segments with Andrade, it's not giving that much for Andrade to do. So that is his benefit, and certainly freshens things up in a way that I was pretty kind of tired of seeing A-Town Down Under it being in this sort of a role. We had Santos with Damian Priest backstage. Santos is offering his services to Damian Priest. Priest basically tells him to get lost. Santos says, "All right, chill out, but I'll be around if you need me." So at that point, Damian Priest runs into R-Truth, his old buddy. R-Truth thinks it's Raw and says, "Welcome to Raw, Damian Priest." He says, "I just saw Adam Pearce. He now has hair and a British accent." So at this point, LA Knight shows up, who's tagging with Damian Priest in the main event. Priest says tonight they're friends, but at the Rumble, it's everybody for themselves. And R-Truth suggests that they should form a team. Zelina shows up with Tiffany Stratton. Zelina making her SmackDown return here. Zelina says she has her eyes on Tiffany's title, and her journey starts tomorrow with the Rumble. And Stratton says, "Good luck with that. Did you see where the betting odds are? Nobody even is mentioning you, Zelina."
Did they really say that? Oh, okay. Your sarcasm is very subtle. It's tough.
Tiffany Stratton comes out for an interview with Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. Pat names all of the potential Rumble winners who may challenge her, and Stratton says it doesn't matter because it's always
Pat time, McAfee time, Indy time, Halliburton time.
Everything but those words. Jacob, she said Fatu.
Stratton.
Yeah. So out comes Candice LeRae, who says that who accuses Tiffany of being jealous because Nia prefers Candice as a tag partner, and she announces that she's entering the Rumble. Nia then attacks her from behind, Stratton from behind, and manages to hit the Annihilator to her. So this was your lone segment to put attention into the Women's Rumble, and it was not very interesting.
Was this above or below the Punk Owens Open?
The Punk Owens Open. This was far below John. They've really put minimal effort into this.
But these could be WrestleMania pairings. Could be Candice against Tiffany.
Yeah, they very well could. I mean, I hope to come out of the match with a positive feeling, and I think that'll largely be achieved by surprises if they cram.
Well, I think you will. You'll have a clearer sense of things. It's just going into it. They've really done so little, if anything, to lead you. Like the hook of the women's match is Charlotte's return. Like what else have they really? Like it's just in your head. You can farm out different scenarios, but they're not pushing you in any direction. We've heard nothing from Io Sky about why this would be of significance or what she wants to do. Bailey trying to repeat. Like there's none of that.
Nothing. Our main event is Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu taking on LA Knight and Damian Priest. So we're a few segments in as the pace picks up here. Damian Priest comes in. He shoves Tama Tonga onto the announce table, comes back in, super kicks Fatu, or sorry, on the outside, he super kicks Fatu, who no-sells it. He delivers a flatliner to Fatu onto the table and then shoves him into the post that finally sends him on his feet. Tama reverses a Razor's Edge into a sleeper, and then a double team from the heels sends Damian Priest down. LA Knight comes in, takes Jacob Fatu out by crossbodying him over to the Timekeeper's area. This allows Priest to stop a Tama Tonga lariat, and then he delivers the South of Heaven for the win. After the match, Jacob Fatu comes in, super kicks Priest, Samoan drops, and moonsaults him. I thought a pretty good main event overall. Did a much better job again on this episode of establishing Damian Priest as a big deal coming from Raw, and made Jacob look like a big deal by being able to just basically hold his own in what feels like a main role now. Solo Sikoa, of course, if you remember, teased saying something and eventually just left. Seems like he's going to be away for I don't know, at least.
Is there an investigation?
Well, he
find
was
his whereabouts.
Right. What was interesting was earlier in the night. I believe Jacob said, "Tama and I run this," and I don't know if that was purposely omitting Solo Sikoa. Are we supposed to think that Solo is sort of it? Sorry, Jacob now is sort of in charge of whatever iteration of this faction still remains. I don't know. I'm sure that'll be clarified soon.
Oh my God, we need a third version of the Bloodline.
Yeah. Well, they stopped calling him that, so maybe there's something else now. Overall, I thought this edition of SmackDown was a big improvement over the last weeks with the addition of a CM Punk and what just felt like a bigger show with more fanfare attached to the Rumble. Having Pat McAfee in Indianapolis certainly helped things, but it's still a very long show, and I think at the third hour, this crowd felt it.
I thought opening segment, really strong stuff. I didn't see the main event, but I think they've done a good job with Damian Priest so far in the move over, and I really like his pairing with Jacob Fatu. I thought the two of them came off pretty well, and even attaching LA Knight, so it's like Priest has kind of an ally on the show as well. So I thought that part worked as well.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Well, on that note, we will do some calls, and we got some feedback to get to
on the other side of the Post Wrestling Cafe. So thank you all of you guys for joining us live. Those of you
on the free stream, we'll be back here on Saturday night as soon as the Rumble ends, probably around 10 Eastern, give or take, and we will chat with you then right after the Rumble.